welcome to the channel. In this video I'm going to go through and maybe show some of it, how I'm going to upgrade this rear axle of the Traxxas TRX-6. It's very robust, to be honest. What I want it to be is a bit more heavier and a bit more robust in certain other parts. So plus I just fancied the upgrade. Anyway, I went through a lot of choices. There was several companies providing them, and based on a lot of reviews I ended up getting the ones from Treal. Originally in this video I was supposed to upgrade all the axles, but I have now only gotten these axle housings for the rear axles. The front axle is still on its way, so I need to wait for that one to happen until it arrives. I mean, it might take some time, so let's see. However, I got this, a lot of the other parts I already have also for the front axle. So I got these cheap brass attachments for each of the axles. These I have. Then I got from this and a Treal. These are from Treal, these which come to the end here. Also got the same one for the steering part of the front axle. So I'm just really missing the axle housing for the front axle anymore. Yeah, these are from Treal. Then I got these cheap third-party ones. Why did I choose not all the same brand? Well, partly due to what was available from Amazon and through different routes, which I could get fastest, or in general could get here. Yeah, I already tried this out a bit on. This third-party cheap ones seem to fit very nicely. No problems whatsoever. But as I will assemble, I will every now and then stop to make some videos and tell you if there's any problems, any observations, any recommendations, and as it's the case with me, if something goes really wrong. So at least in this video I will try to do this one. Let's see how long it will take if I'll make a separate video, because the other one, next axle, will have the through axle, so it will be very different to put. Yeah. So I will just start and then make random videos when I have opened and show you how things are going. I have now disassembled the whole rear axle. Not completely, but in a way I usually do. So I took the most outer parts off, put them in alignment, put the screws, axles kind of in the same order, and so on. And then I put the new parts in the equivalent order here too. Now, additional challenge will be the fact that I will try to replace most of these screws with the stainless ones, as these will corrode after a while. Well, depending on what the location is. One of the problems is that because sometimes, depending on the aluminum alloy and the stainless steel, there can be issues with them. But normally I would know exactly what alloy types is which part I'm using when I design something, like which screws are which alloy and everything, so I can match everything perfectly. But since in this case it's not going to be possible, they don't tell it anywhere, so I'm just going to be there. So let's go closer look. There's that one axle sprocket where the hub where the wheel connects to, bearings, more sprockets, attachments. Here this one is separately, whereas in this one it's integral part of the piece. So there's less pieces in the upgrade. There's the diff itself, the cable going. I will have some difficulty because I realized it's done with this clippy thing. I need to treat this very carefully. That's why I'm doing the video now, and then I need to concentrate on this part when I will be dealing with it. Axle the same on the other side, and the portal housing cover. This part nothing too complicated. This one, I will let you know when I'm done with it. So here it is finally. I struggled a lot with it, so I forgot to take the videos, everything, and well, things didn't really go the way I planned. But I struggled not because of what might be the obvious reason, it's because I didn't want to use my any schematics or diagrams. I know there are some online for TRX-6, but I wanted to disassemble and do it and inspect it myself. So I started opening from middle. I thought about everything, and that wasn't the smartest idea. I think the next axle, the middle one, I will do a bit differently. I will explain you later then how it went. What I have to say about this. Disassembly, assembly, changing the Treal. Otherwise, alignment of holes, threads, everything perfect. I used upgraded stainless steel screws. Perfect, no problems whatsoever. Use Loctite. I squeezed marine grease inside. No, I mean, there's no point putting the whole thing full of marine grease. There's no entrance here. So I lubricated what's supposed to be with the marine grease. The problematic points between people complain in all of this is like, no, there's an open bearing. This is a rubber shielded bearing. It's not going to last forever, nor is it a very high quality, even if it's the upgrade one. And it's not made of stainless steel. There's multiple points also here where stiff things can crawl in. Normally, these would be handled with different kind of seals, and in cars they also changed. And I mean, it's just not designed that way. I think this is like probably the weakest point here. So stuffing everything with lubricant doesn't necessarily do anything in these cases. If the bearings are crap, the bearings are crap and they will corrode. And if stuff will go through, because you would need to basically have a different seal here between the axle that goes from here and this part. I mean, in cars, this can be like a rubber or a plastic muffler, kind of like flexible part around it. There are lots of ways to do it. Maybe I will try to build one here. Let's see. And these seals here. I mean, there's directly bearing there. What do you expect? So I put some stuff there. Things can always go in, I guess, even if you stuff it completely full. Let's see. I would rather solve it other way than stuff everything full. I don't know. Maybe water can get in. Let's see. Maybe I will add more things there. But I also noticed that if you have a lot of stuff there, when you squeeze and get pressure, it actually doesn't work so well. So it's design considerations. Treal, everything assembly, it's really good quality, everything perfect. Even with these cheaper ones here, I had no problem adding this to the Treal parts, same in this end. And these are also some cheap ones. I will put links to the description. These fit perfectly here. No problem whatsoever with Treal. One thing, when you remove this cable for the differential, I luckily found it online, but I wondered how this is attached. So you need to pull it through this way. You need to pull the cable out through inside here to change it to the new one. And here, it's a thread. There's a thread inside in the copper or what brass part, which is crimped on the cable. So you need to take hold of this very carefully with the tweezers or plier, something, and then rotate this carefully away. And remember to adjust the position accurately again, because otherwise the length of the cable will change and it will not actuate correctly. But this was the biggest challenge I had. Just be very careful with this one. Otherwise, pretty easy. Though, next one I will try to do it in different order to make it less of a mess, more controlled. And for the middle axle, and well, that will be the next part then. It took quite a while doing it without instructions, but it was really nice, really learning. The inside parts by Traxxas, I mean, I can't say, just really good. Now it's all metal and relatively heavy. So I'm very happy with it. Looks really nice. Looks like a shining jewel. Okay, and I guess I just need to start with the middle axle. Okay, now I'm going to start with converting this second rear axle, or the first rear axle, depends on direction you're viewing, of the TRX-6 into this Treal enclosure. I just opened up this middle axle. What I noticed with the first axle which I did, or actually the rearest axle, is that I did a bit of mistake. I just disassembled everything, and then when I filled with grease, it all got messy. So I don't think I did kind of a mess by opening up everything. So I realized no point doing that. When you can do things cleanly and with a screw lock and so on, it'll be easy. So like this Treal one, I just attached these into the ends directly with the screws. They can be put there, the axle just goes directly through. No need for doing it separately. Open up this one. Why I didn't do this the first time, because like I said, I had no drawings. I had to see what was inside and no schematics. I took this apart from this main axle enclosure, whatever it's called. The same to the other end, because these I can take apart separately after I've finished with this one. So they're kind of independent. So I'm doing this, minimizing what I open. The axles came out over there, from here and here. I actually read that these here, one of the sprockets, the smallest sprocket here, is a very weak point, and often breaks, and people are replacing them. And then there exists this. Some people use them hardened steel. They're chromoly steel. It's not really hardened. It's a different alloy. Hardening means something entirely else. So basically, if I make an axle, well, let's put it this way: chromoly steel would be one of my options. What people don't often understand is that there are lots of different kind of alloys of steel, aluminum, and so on, and they all have different purposes. Unfortunately, when it comes to doing stuff like this, it's just cheaper just to do whatever steel you have, not care, just make it and get it low cost. I mean, yeah. So Traxxas has made this kind of different alloy axles and the sprockets for this one. They're ridiculously expensive, considering that the same chromoly alloy, what it was, I can have, for example, normal screwdrivers for almost nothing from the same alloy, just buy from a shop. So why they're so expensive for this one? I think it's just a marketing thing, nothing else. Yeah, we made something more. Why they couldn't do it in the beginning with? Meaning, they did a crappy design. Or when they designed, they knew exactly that the sprocket is going to fail, and people will just buy more. It's just like with the ink cartridges. Like, printer is cheap, ink cartridges are expensive, so that's where the company makes the money from. Yeah. What I would like that people think about, evaluate how these car seat companies do things, or any company for that matter, need to be a bit more realistic regarding their business models. They don't do things by accident. At least I definitely hope they don't. Most of the advertisement of what alloy this is and this are and completely pointless. Those numbers don't necessarily mean anything. Unfortunately, I've learned that depending on part of the world where you are, you're certified something to be a certain alloy according to certain standards. Well, there are different standards in different parts of the world, and not all are the same, despite they have the same name. So you can never really know. Brass, the same thing. There's different types of kind of variations of brass. Some are better, some are worse. Yeah. A lot to be still desired from the companies that make these. I mean, how you can know everything from, especially if you buy cheap ones from China, how you can know any of it is true. I mean, look at these parts. They look exactly the same as from several other manufacturers, just with a different name on them. Really? Do you think they will bother changing the alloys for any of these? I doubt it. They just put different names. It's this. People buy them like crazy. Ah, yeah. Oh, but they do look nice. Um, and I don't think this alloy thing in this case is much of a problem. Bigger problem is rather the design of the bearings and like the design of the sprockets and the axles. The material selection of those by Traxxas, which is rather the problem. The possibly crappy bearings, seals. Yeah, they could have done a lot very differently, and I don't think really by extending the costs that much. I think it's just all about the... I mean, it's understandable. Companies exist for a profit. They don't do beneficiary. I have a company of my own, so I understand well. You know, it's not for giving money away for free. But it depends on what you promise for your customers and what you think is like supposed to be good, what is not supposed to be good. So let's get on with this, otherwise this is going to be a pretty long video. So next, I will not be videoing the middle parts as I'm having problem with keeping the camera still. So I will remove this part here, the middle part, remove some of the lubrication, replace them with this one, liquimolu, remove this cable, put cable here, and then stuff this in place. Okay, you will soon, in next part, I will show you how it looks after the change from here to here. Okay, so I put the sprocket and the axle that goes out of the housing there. I put a little lubrication there, though I seriously doubt that if some water will get past the two bearings, their seals and the lubrications, anyway, it's going to go through. So, yeah, and all grime when it's rotating. That's it. And you see, this is now empty. And here's the outer casing. I transferred from this one into this one while replacing these bearings with the upgraded ones. What I also noticed that I always, when I took the Traxxas bearings out, I keep some of them okay, but like in this one here, this is that's the diff, and that's the thing that locks or unlocks the diff. And here's the lever that will, based on the cable attached, will move it around. This is like a clutch there. I noticed that one of the bearings was, when I was rotating, it was really rough. So whenever you change bearings or buy products with possibly cheap bearings, I just take a hold of them, take them separately and rotate them in my hands and listen to them very carefully. Do they make any funny sounds? Do you feel any resistance? Theoretically, if you have a very high quality bearing, it's just supposed to roll very long with very low resistance. Some of these, based on that, are quite crap quality bearings. And yeah, and there was one bearing which was really like making bad sounds, and I felt it. Best way is you can feel it with your fingers. Even if there's even slightest amount of resistance, throw away the bearing. And unfortunately, in Traxxas, I have run into several bearings that are a bit fishy. So I just replaced them with these ones. But I don't know if these are any better. They look the same. They don't seem to have any official maker markings. Yeah, they're not like what it's called, SKS or whatever bearings. Okay, let's continue. So here it is, the middle part of the differential and the stuff transferred to the Treal. There it is. I think that's kind of enough lubrication there as it is. Some people was talking about heat transfer. The problem is that if you consider like any liquid they're using transferring heat from the gears or bearings to the casing, it's not working. Why? Because it's plastic. So you can forget that purpose completely. So second one is that people said that online in some forums, or at least discussing, that you should not fill it completely. It will wear out the bearings. That's not true either. Sorry, it doesn't make a rat's ass of difference. The thing is that if you mix different kind of lubricants, they can sometimes funnily kind of react with each other in weird ways. That's the only problem. That's why, you should use only one type of lubricant. I cleaned up the old one as much as I could and put new one in place. Would it help, since this is a metal enclosure, would it help the heat transfer? I don't know. Well, one of the questions is that how much heat is really generated in this one. The heat is generated because due to efficiency. I mean, nothing can be 100% efficiency in this world. So something is always lost in friction and is heat. And even no matter how powerful a motor or whatever you have, some of the energy is always lost in the transmissions. In this case, in the form of heat. Though, if I were to lubricate this in a way to transfer all the heat to the casing, well, then this should, my guess or thought, that this should be probably then filled, if you want to transfer heat from here to the casing, to the enclosure, whatever you call it, then there are some things one should do. Maybe then it should be filled with oil up to a certain level. And it should be a correct type of oil so that it would transfer the heat. That the oil would get the heat and then transfer here, which is not possible since it's directly through holes through there, and the oil would basically just leak out. Since I said in many places here it's not sealed properly. Neither is this one. In this one, making it that way, it's completely pointless. It's plastic. It's not going to transfer your heat anywhere. Only thing it might do is melt the plastic, that's all. So this is kind of the extent we can work on with this one. Just lubricate the surfaces and places. Put some stuff there, maybe to prevent corrosion if something gets, and eventually will get through. So I now closed up this thing, cleaned it up a bit, put the cover in place, checked that everything works. It looks nice, it's okay. I put the stainless steel screws here, these are going to get a lot of salt and water and stuff on them, so having brass and stainless steel and aluminum here, that's good. Except for the bearings. Well, nothing I can do about those. I use screw lock. People always like, should I use screw lock or not? I use screw lock on this almost everywhere where it's metal to metal contact. Why? Well, the problem is that normally you would not need to use this everywhere. You based on your design, you know where the vibrations are going to be. Where's the risk of screw getting or some part getting loose? Then you use different kind of glues, composite materials, and screw locks. However, screw locks exist in different types, depending on the strength and the type of vibrations they're able to tolerate without loosening up. And with conditions of weather, temperature, whatever, moisture. So there's a lot of them. So when you buy just some package called screw lock, the reality is you have no idea what you're necessarily using. I'm not sponsored by them, but I like Loctite. They have a very nice catalog where they're like this is middle strength, medium normal. Loctite has a nice catalog of the features of the different screw locks and different glues, what they do, what their conditions for engineering purposes. Though the funny part is that I couldn't find from local shops proper screw lock. I found something screw lock and Loctite something, but some weird numbers, and I'm not sure if it's all entirely real Loctite. Then when I went to the catalog, well, best place I found to get Loctite, the numbering which I wanted, in this case 243 for this application, I found it online from Amazon actually. I mean, there are companies, at least where I live, which sell this, but they sell it only to companies, or in larger quantities, whatever. But yeah, I found some actually. No, I remember. Okay, this wasn't from Amazon. I got previous from Amazon. This was from a company that I found online anyway. So yeah, check the numbers, check the data sheets, what is good for application. So I already made the other end, the portal. In this one I disassembled it already. There's the innards. Now this is the one I was talking about being the problematic, according to a certain website, that these brackets are broken, and you can buy new ones from Traxxas, relatively cheap, but then they have the Chromolu update, which is supposed to be better. Why they didn't put that to begin with? And funny enough, you buy this one, then you will also need to buy this axle new as the package. You know, this one fails, this axle will fail. So okay, here's the ready upgraded middle axle. Output from there, or output from there. Portal drives here. Attachments, everything in here. Whew. So this one is finally done. I have to admit, this changing wasn't easy. It took me half a day to do this one, no, in addition to doing the videos. Yeah, it takes a lot of time to do each axle, and I still have the front one to do when it will arrive. I'm seriously considering getting the more expensive Chromolu sprockets here and putting it that way. I mean, when it will be autonomous, you know, you can't predict or yourself control much how it will jump and impact objects, and I mean, that's why I need to make everything as robust as possible, that it will survive. Yeah, I think I'm gonna need to change those, but yeah, so far these are done. And on to the next parts of building the autonomous TRX-6.